or PowerPoint, we have chosen the barriers to learning being HIV and AIDS. It is created by Lisa McKie and Thozi and Thozi. One of the major contributing factors towards lack of education in South Africa today is HIV and AIDS. This will include children who are infected with the pandemic and children who have parents or primary caregivers that are infected with the virus. You can see the stats there, the HIV and AIDS estimates that I've put up there. It's a staggering amount of people in South Africa today. And the educational gaps that are caused by HIV and AIDS has an effect on school attendance and children's learning capabilities. And it's a major influence on the country's economy, and it adds to the unemployment rate that is rampant in our country. Many children do not complete school, and it places an enormous burden on our country as far as economic and also the potential to create new jobs from children that will graduate from school and then go on to university. And these people will start their own businesses and be a major contributor, as I said, to job creation in our country. And also it will hinder and stop poverty and children that are left orphaned and on their own. The difference between HIV and AIDS is somebody who's infected with the HIV virus doesn't automatically lead to AIDS, but it can develop into AIDS, and that is when the virus hasn't been treated, and it is a severe condition that is life-threatening. Many of the people in South Africa and the children today who are infected with HIV and AIDS are on antiretrovirals. If you are taking antiretrovirals, you can live a normal, full life and reach your normal life expectancy without contracting AIDS and the severe conditions that go along with it. So at the bottom there, I've said without treatment, people diagnosed with AIDS survive for an average of 2 years. By contrast, if HIV is diagnosed and treated early, people can live as long as those without HIV or very near to it. To go into greater detail, the HIV virus, which is the human immunodeficiency virus, is when the body is infected by the virus. A person can become infected by the virus when they are sexually active, and that would have to happen or occur with somebody who's already infected with the virus. And so it will be semen, vaginal fluids. You can also contract it through blood transfusions using hypodermic needles from drug abusers and also from breastfeeding. It attacks the body's immune system, and you can normally see if somebody's got an advanced stage of HIV by looking at the white blood cell count. The body becomes vulnerable to infection and other diseases. And without medical intervention, the virus will continue to attack the immune system and the patient can develop AIDS. AIDS, is a chronic condition. There is no cure. And if untreated, the patient will die. To name a few of them, you can have sweats, chills, fever, chronic diarrhea, that's quite common in HIV/AIDS sufferers, swollen lymph glands, lesions and white spots on the mouth, chronic fatigue, weakness, weight loss, skin outbreaks, bumps and sores, and this is just a small amount of the symptoms that can physically present. Physical manifestations of HIV and AIDS virus may result in sufferers being shunned by the community, because as they present with the sores and what have you, then people will know that they are HIV AIDS sufferers. devastating results of people who are infected with HIV and AIDS are the children. What happens is HIV in South African schools, there are a massive amount of children who do not attend school, either from looking after primary caregivers or parents who are suffering from the virus. Many of these children do not complete grade 7. They experience discrimination, victimization, and abuse from their classmates, whether they have family members who are infected or they themselves are infected. Children are orphaned owing to the parents or caregivers' death due to HIV and AIDS. These children attend school sporadically and eventually drop out due to extreme poverty. You can see on the pictures that we provided on the right hand side, you can see the stigma of disclosure of HIV status and the effects that it has in the classroom. The challenges in schools and larger communities, it's the financial challenges, domestic violence, sexual and reproductive health challenges, and psychological support that many of these children require. Are a big concern in our country. What happens is the children have child-headed homes. There's socio-economic difficulties. The government doesn't provide enough financial support or none at all. And the children have very little access to healthcare, food, warmth, clothes, and all the basic necessities that they require. The result is the death from their primary caregivers. Again, stigma and discrimination, gender-based violence, and abuse by adults. If children are left on his own, many other adults will take advantage of them and their vulnerability. Poverty is rampant. Starvation, that will affect the children at school as well. They might have inherited HIV and AIDS. They've got no medical assistance, poor health care. Again, massive problem, lack of proper education. Of a child who is affected by HIV and AIDS. Her name is Numbulelo. She's a 16-year-old girl who's taking care of her father who is sick with HIV and AIDS. Her mother has subsequently passed away. She's often absent from school and misses her lessons on a regular basis. Her father is very sick with HIV and AIDS, and she is the primary caregiver. She assists her father with his visits to the clinic to see the doctor and to receive his medicine. She will also make sure that he's tended to with food and the basic necessities. She is a school-going child, and before this tragedy, she says that she had many friends and they lived in a very close community with her neighbors and other community members. And after both of her parents died from HIV and AIDS, people started to drift away. Obviously, there's stigma to it and discrimination. Today, she cannot ask neighbors for food or help with clothes, and she had to leave school to look for a job to care for her siblings. Barriers to learning and school children affected by HIV and AIDS. In this slide, we've included some of the problems that children face. They have lack of basic services, which would be running water, warmth, housing, financial support. And as far as education goes, the first problem would be they wouldn't be able to access transport to get to school. Another one of the educational problems they would have is access to properly trained teachers who can academically support a child and take care of their physical and emotional needs. There's an inflexible curriculum and cannot be adapted to a child who has been affected by HIV and AIDS. Many of the children are living in poverty, they are hungry, they're starving, and they're unable to concentrate in class and reach their mental and physical milestones. Psychological effects with these children, they'll have mourning, trauma, stress, They will also perhaps have aggression issues and social issues. The brain development in children who have HIV and AIDS is restricted. They have encephalopathy, hope I got that right. It causes infection, tumors, stroke. The children have a declining ability to concentrate, memory loss, personal change, seizures, and twitching are common symptoms. They can be treated with an anti-seizure medication. Some of the other problems they'll present is brain growth. It's stunted, it's not properly developed, so they are unable to reach their mental milestones. Motor skill abnormalities, so that will be the fine and gross motor skills. Their cognitive dysfunction and slow language acquisition, which presents as a major problem, and that will affect the reading, writing, and speaking of their languages. Who are affected by HIV and AIDS. The teachers need to be able to support these children. If they miss class or lessons, they need to be able to help them catch up, to keep the materials on hand or the printed goods. The school and the government need to assist the government, especially in financial support. These children need to get government grants. They need to be in facilities where they are taken care of by caregivers who are trained to look after them. School, as I said, the school can perhaps have different classes, different times, or go to these children to be able to hand out work that they need to do, or take it to the facilities where these children are being housed. The community needs to support these children. They need to gather around, rally around, make sure that the children are fed, clothed, socialized, and all the other needs that they would require in their development as they grow. The remaining family or adult caregiver needs to be there to make sure that the children are kept up to date with their schoolwork, their progress through life, and all their requirements that they need. If you look at the AIDS orphans, in the picture that we've provided below, that children under 18 years who have lost either a mother or father or parents due to HIV and AIDS. As of 2007, that's 1.2 million AIDS orphans in South Africa, and 416,000 of these are alone are in KwaZulu-Natal. And that was many years ago. Can you imagine what the statistics are today? You can see on the slide that we have provided the references and citations. In summary, it's very, very concerning about the children who are affected with HIV and AIDS. As far as education goes, there's a serious lack of facilities, basic requirements, and access to lessons and milestones that children need to reach as they progress through the grades. If these children are not helped by the government, schools, communities, we will face a growing unemployment rate. Businesses will not develop, and investment into the country will be stunted. A major drain on the country's economy due to medical supplies that have to be supplied to the children, and other infrastructure that has to be given to them. And the best way to do this is through prevention. If children are educated about how AIDS, HIV and AIDS is contracted, perhaps we can stunt or limit the increase of this pandemic.